Okay, so hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about something we spoke a little bit about before, and we're going to go into much more detail. We're going to be talking about sound. So as you can see, and I think I used it in my last video as well, I have recently picked up the Rode Wireless Go Kit, and it's a purchase that I've been sort of putting off for a long time. Obviously, you know, everyone's been a little bit short for cash in this pandemic period, and it's something I just kind of didn't commit to buying, but I'm so glad I now have. So we're just going to talk about audio quality in general with film and video making, and let's just dive straight into it. So for the longest time now, I have been struggling to get the right quality level of audio with a easy to use setup as well. Because one of the things that's really important to me as a videographer is getting that balance right. I could always invest in more kit, bigger kit, more expensive kit, and get the quality of things like the audio better and better and better. But the problem is every time I do that, it also increases the time it takes to set up. It also increases the amount of gear I've got to take somewhere, and it kind of just makes my job harder as well. So in a similar vein to video setup, audio setup is something that I want to be simple, small, compact, and kind of just ready to use when I need it. And that was the prime factor in what made me decide to finally go for the Rode Wireless Go. Now I know I've kind of bought loads of Rode stuff recently, and I'm not trying to sell anything for Rode, but it is a company that's well trusted and well respected within the industry, and I've never had any problems with any of their gear so far, so it seemed like a sensible move to kind of stick with them. There are a million other different options. There are Sony options, there are Tascams, loads of different audio recorders and microphones, so don't feel like you've got to stick with Rode. But yeah, I went with a Wireless Go Kit. So I'd recently done a shoot with a charity, and we were doing sort of interview setups. They were sat facing to camera, sort of like what I am now, and I had my old audio setup. So I had the Rode Video Mic Pro on a boom pole, and I had that set up on a mic stand, kind of, boomed over towards the talent. And this setup works, don't get me wrong. It actually produces a good quality audio, and it is relatively versatile and relatively easy to set up, as I could still plug it straight into the camera with a long cable. Now the real problem I was starting to face was background noise. So the location we were in was not quiet, it was not a studio setup, it was very industrial. It was actually on an industrial estate, so there's lots of background noises, lots of cars, lots of birds, seagulls, all sorts of things, and it was a real headache. And doing this shoot was kind of the final kind of nail in the coffin that made me go out and purchase a setup like this. Now, don't get me wrong, the audio quality was actually fine and it was more than serviceable, but the background noise was frustrating and it was a headache when shooting as well. So I asked a few people, I went online, I looked at actual people that, are experts in the audio field, which I'm certainly not, and they all seem to suggest that the best way to cut out the kind of background noise was to use something like a lavalier microphone, this thing that's on me now. Now, of course, the downside to a lav is that you can see it, and if I'm not wearing a jacket or something like that, you're kind of always going to be able to see it, but in reality, how many times does that actually matter? And if it does, you can hide them, you can put them under shirts or somewhere else. But the main benefit to this is that it really kind of only is going to pick up the sound from what's kind of going on around this area, at least in theory. I still haven't tested it fully yet. So this means hopefully we're going to cut out a lot of the background noise. We're not going to pick up all the stuff that's going on in the other room and stuff like that. Now, the other benefit to this system is that it's actually wireless. So I've got the transmitter in my pocket, which is being picked up by the camera, and a receiver, which is now set on top of the camera, which is picking up all the audio. This also means I can be a lot further away from the camera, and I can't obviously show you it in here, but if I was to walk back another 10 meters on a boom microphone, that would completely throw that out of the question and make that impossible to shoot. But with this kind of setup, I can move back as far as I want, as long as the transmitter can receive it, and it's fine. Not only is it fine, but the audio is also not going to change at all, no matter how far I get, which can be great for certain situations. So I'm going to show you a few clips in a minute that are from a little trip I had down to the beach earlier on today, where I kind of show you this in action with no wires and nothing particularly visible, I hope. Okay, so we are recording. Any issue here is going to be framing. I have no idea where to stand or where to be. But yeah, this is outside. This is a test for the microphone outside, down by the beach on the Wirral. I'm hoping this is all picking up clearly and no noise. Now in theory, you should get no wind noise here at all. There should be really anything in the background there. And this should be a good, nice, clean audio quality. As ever, you only notice how quiet it really is when you actually start recording something. So far, the Wireless Go has been absolutely perfect for me. There are a few line of sight issues. You probably wouldn't want to turn around and face the other way. Whilst it does work occasionally, it can get a little bit dodgy, so I wouldn't advise that. So if you need to record someone that's kind of walking away from camera, this might not be the best setup for that. But if you're facing camera and you're not more than sort of, 20 to 30, 40 meters away, this setup is perfect. And personally, I've not really noticed any drop in quality from the Video Mic Pro, which I was using before. So with the same quality level and much more versatility, this is really doing the job for me. So with my Rode review audio advert thing out the way, let's jump into why this is so important. Last night I watched Christopher Nolan's first feature film, Following. Now I think this film's from 1999 and I did not know going into it that it was filmed for only £6,000, which if you're not aware in the film world is absolutely tiny. I believe he financed the film himself. He used people that he knew, he used friends, he used locations that were their family members and friends and stuff like that. It was very student guerrilla filmmaking. The film was in black and white and shot very kind of hand cam, which masks a lot of the need for, expensive studio equipment. But the one thing that really stood out to me and made this not feel like a student film was the audio quality. Now, minus a few little sound effects and things which were a bit lacking, the dialogue quality of recording is very, very good in this film. In fact, it's pretty close to actual Hollywood level. It's an age-old thing, but it also really made me think. Even with a lower video quality, a fairly clear lack of production value, and a few other little production flaws in the film, having that audio quality be so good really ties this together and makes this feel like a professional film. And that basic message really transfers into everything we do, film or video wise. I know I've said it before, but audio is really, really important to film, and a lot of times even more important than the visuals. I think when we first start out filmmaking or video making, we default to getting the best visual possible. We invest in a great camera. We spend a lot of time looking at photography and how to kind of compose an image. And the one thing we really kind of lack and forget to do is look at the audio. Darcy, stop eating grass. Stop eating grass. So it's very, very boggy where I've come down today. So what I'm seeing constantly is people walking towards me, getting stuck in the mud and then spending a long time in one place, which is not great for this video. So one day we'll let people pass and we'll keep going. So as I was saying, the audio tends to get neglected, and this is definitely something that I've done in the past as well. I'd say the majority of the short films I've worked on, and even some of my solo kind of work, has unfortunately fell victim to having worse quality audio than video. Now look, at the end of the day, this makes sense. I am trained as a videographer and a filmmaker, not a audio technician or anything along those lines. But it's something that we really need to make sure we focus on and get right if you want to kind of get taken to the next level. Now in videography, obviously you can sort of choose to not shoot with audio. You can choose to get around that in a few different ways. I quite often will add stuff back in later. I won't record any sound at the time, and I'll kind of go in knowing that. When you need to record someone, mainly for dialogue, you need to make sure it's right at the time. And a great way to do this is to use something like a lav mic. My dog seems to have decided that she wants to be in this shot, so I'm just going to leave her there, and then we'll probably jump back to the studio so I can talk about this in more detail there. Again, I know it's not an original statement, but you can have worse video quality. You can shoot on a rubbish camera, you can shoot on your iPhone. If your audio quality is not there, it's really going to pull people out of your project. So as much as it may feel like empty advice, if you're going to make a short film, if you're going to start out making some sort of project that you want to make feel professional, invest in audio gear. And not just in gear, of course, but in knowledge. Of course, the best way to do this is to bring in someone that knows what they're talking about and knows how to use the kit. I have to admit, I've worked on far too many productions where someone that is not an audio expert is taking control of the audio. And every single time I've let it happen, I've regretted it. If you're going to bring in one experienced or semi-professional person to your shoot, please make it the audio person. Apart from anything else, just being able to forget about the sound is such a blessing when you're shooting. Even now, sort of 4 years into my videography journey, the one thing that still stresses me out on shoots is making sure the audio is right. Mainly because when I'm trying to shoot, direct, produce, and take care of the audio at the same time, it's a real headache. And the shoots I do where I have a sound engineer with me are an absolute godsend. So to wrap this up, what I'm suggesting is either invest in audio equipment and knowledge, learn how to use the gear, learn how to get the sound to be good, not only on set, but in post as well, where you can do a lot to kind of increase the quality. And more importantly than anything else, become friends with or find an audio engineer. Someone that's going to take that weight off your shoulders, take control of the sound, be reliable in that zone, and just get on with it. And like me, if you make the same mistakes and don't go down this path, expect to get your film into post-production and just fall apart and get very, very annoyed with the quality of the audio. It's very, very hard to salvage bad audio, and low budget ADR is not a simple thing to bed into a film. So if you take one thing from this video, I hope it's the importance of sound in your projects from beginning to end. Plan it, get it right on the shoot, get someone to polish it up in post, and then heed the benefits from that. I'm going to leave it there for today. I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of advice, and I will see you as ever next week. Goodbye.